Yes, so we will have this meeting today and discuss the work packages and also a little bit about the strategy. And I will start to also welcome our new partners who will be joining us at this consortium as well. So very nice to see you, some of you here today. The agenda then is to have a short introduction to start with, then the work packages will present 10 minutes each. Where they are, what they're doing at the moment, their plans. Then we have Toby here who will talk about the new strategy for the next bit. And then after that, we plan to have a general discussion where we can all exchange ideas and what we think would be a good way forward. Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, no, yeah.
Sorry, delay.
And then we'll have a summary at the end. So just to start off by a small introduction, the EUTOPIA 2050 was a pilot, or is a pilot project arising from the Erasmus bid, as you know, and from here in that package, there was one work package 3, which was more related to research, which is really the basics for then developing the train project after that. And Aranyó and welcome, and me are leading the work package 3, but also the train project. So from the 2050, like I said, that was the start of building onto different other projects within the EUTOPIA Alliance. And from here at the moment, we have the train, Transforming Research and Innovation program. We have SIFT, which Aranyó was also very much leading, and also the group to tell for the PhD students. And this has really been a starting point where we have been able to develop more specifically the research side within the Alliance. This shows a little bit more in detail. You can see here a little bit more in detail the different parts. So we have EUTOPIA as a whole. We have the 2050 project, which is now running to 2019 to 21. Within that, there is a lot of mobility activities, also for Leaders Academy fellows, doctoral mobility, and also some mobility for the senior researchers. And this has, of course, been quite a challenge for us because of the pandemic, and we have not been able to travel as much as we expected to do. But hopefully, we will be able to at least mobilize some of these activities during 2022. From the 2050, like I said, the EUTOPIA train has developed, and there we have extended the Young Leader Academy fellowships. We're also looking for trying to develop a common science agenda for the whole train. And we also, very importantly, are working on different strategies where we can have an impact in future mission bids, basically, where we can influence the European Commission with what will come out from our train project. And then finally, the SIFT is a very successful postdoctoral program that is leading and which is also still ongoing. The way that train was built, you can say, was really due to what the European Commission was asking for in their bid, yeah?
I'm getting messages from the Zoom people that they can't see the slides. So I think we're not sharing the slides, possibly.
Yes.
It's not screen share.
Sure, it's just start the sharing of the screen. So.
In Spanish?
In Spanish, yes.
Duplica la
Yes. So it's just share. I think it's just share screen. Sorry.
can do it even in Spanish. Hay que hablar por Zoom, ¿no? Zoom.
Yes.
Should we?
So that's, I'm sorry about that. We didn't realize that we were sharing the slides.
Yeah, I guess.
Is that, can they see now? Good. Right. Yeah, so what we're saying was that the train project really was based on these different points set out by the European Commission. So we wanted to develop a common science agenda, we want to share our infrastructures and resources, we want to strengthen human capital, we want to have a stronger open science practices, we want to engage citizens and society as a whole, we want to reinforce academia business collaborations, and also we want to look at exploring joint structures with common barriers and best practices, which is very important, that we share the best practices, and that will then lead to that we can develop the project further. And based on this, the Utopia train project was designed. It consists of 6 work packages, where we have the work package 1, which is the more sort of leading the agenda and dissemination later on out to the European Commission. We have one work package 2 on innovation for the next century. We have open science packages in work package 3. We're looking at the human capital in work package 4. And then we have this overall more of an administrative support work package 5 for Glenn. And then of course the management package, work package 6. And then today we will then hear from these different work package leaders. And the idea is that we will have one presenter for each. We will start with work package 2, then 3, and then 4 and 5. Then we take a 15-minute break, and then we have work package 1 at the end. And then after that, Toby will talk about strategy, and we will then try and combine the whole thing. I just want to like to share one slide with you last before I let the work packages in, to sort of answer the question why we want to be in Utopia. And this is something that our grants office has put together, and it's looking at financing Horizon 2020 for different alliances in Europe. Because as you know, we are only one of many different alliances. And I've highlighted Utopia here quite high up. And as you can see, we're doing pretty well in receiving funding from Horizon 2020, just as an example here, which to me suggests that we do make a difference, and it is important that we are working together within this and make it better, even in the future. So that was all I was going to say to start with, and then I'd like to introduce Wendy Hoy, who will talk about work package 2. I'm going to need to have all slides on share here as well. Takes a while to.
En ny PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's a different part. Magdalena, vet du vad han IT-killen tog vägen? De är inte där. Nu.
So, thank you very much, and apologies for the technical issues. So, we are now here with work package 2. So what we thought we'd do is just to bring you up to date on what we've got so far. As you know, it's about innovation and strategy in work package 2. So an update on where we are in terms of the work that we've done so far. So we have a deliverable that's due very soon, and that is around looking at the database, if there is a database that is required. So we've been doing some research with our researchers. We've done a literature review, which is quite interesting, but also looked at the activities that are relevant across the institutions to try and get a sense of what's already in existence and what people are currently using and how they're doing what they need to do to engage with industry. It's been quite interesting devising questionnaires and devising a methodology that's appropriate across all institutions to gather the information. So we've got a semblance of similar information from all of those institutions. Bearing in mind we will work differently and we'll have different challenges. So those research questionnaires are underway and we are waiting for some results back from them. We've got some initial findings, and you'll see up on the board. Some of the initial findings, these will change because we've got significant numbers that are likely to come back. So I'm not suggesting that these are the answers, but they are some findings that we've drawn out so far. And one of the key things, one at the top, is the one that I think is going to play quite a part in the outcome for Work Package 2, in that personal relationships appear to be much more important than institutional relationships when building industry or collaboration. So I have a relationship with Fred in an organisation rather than a relationship with Warwick with BT or whatever it might be. And if Fred then goes somewhere else, my relationship follows with the individual rather than necessarily the institution. And that's quite a tricky one to get through. But there is appetite so far at the moment for people to want to seek collaboration with industry partners, but I'm not necessarily sure that it will be through database. It's through that personal contact and that network. But more about that later. I won't try and second guess the outcome of the research. So the next steps for this, once we've got all the information back, is around could we deliver a database? But are there different ways of delivering that industrial collaboration rather than a database? It's a subject of much discussion, and we've had discussions already this week about whether that is the right answer. Even though that's what we may have put in the bid initially, we're not necessarily sure that it answers the question that we're asking. So, In terms of what we're delivering now for the future, we obviously need the roadmap for the innovation strategy, and that feeds into, we'll talk later, we'll talk later about work package 1, which kind of pulls everything up. And so certainly the information that we're gathering together around strategies across the institutions already and best practice, and what does that look like if we kind of lift it a level and feed directly into that. So and the engagement, the ecosystems, the industrial collaborations are really, really important if we're going to get innovation and universities connected with the outside world. And if Utopia is going to do that at a level higher than each individual institution and add value to it, then we really do need to think about what that looks like at that higher level, and to make sure that it's not just a bigger thing of what we do anyway, it's something added. So we really do need to have a look when we're identifying our project plan for the next year within the work package 2, as to what's stopping people engaging currently, what can we do to take those barriers down that might stop institutions or Utopia engaging internationally with businesses. But it's also getting views of businesses as to how they might want to engage with us, because it has to be a two-way collaboration. It's not a case of Utopia saying, well, we want to engage with industry, in you come. There has to be something in it for industry. So where are the hooks? What is it that's going to attract them to work with us? And even now, what are the questions that we can ask them about their needs for collaboration in the future if we're not giving them anything currently? So I think it's an interesting stakeholder map and stakeholder engagement piece to say, who do we want to ask the questions of externally in industry, so that we find the right solution long term.
May I ask a question?
You may.
I'm sorry. I am very today. I'm from CY, and you and the CY. And I would like to understand the term engagement can be understood in many, many ways. And what is the trend related to engagement? Is it engagement of external stakeholders in the project? I'm sorry, just to be sure.
So yes, for the person who are online, I would like to have clarification, if possible, regarding engagement. What is your purpose, your objective, your dream? I don't know, related to engagement, because I understand practice and direct engagement for different stakeholders. Is it engagement in science process? Is it engagement in discussion? Is it engagement in action? Would you mind clarifying, please?
So for this particular work package, we're looking at engagement in industrial collaboration. So collaborating with businesses and industry for the furtherance of everybody's economic benefits. So it's about whether we commercialize research, we work with industry to commercialize our research and put it out into the public domain, or whether it's research coming to academia to answer its own challenges, its questions, and getting that. It's about knowledge exchange, really. It's about building that collaboration to ensure that innovation isn't siloed. So innovation isn't just about what researchers or academics might do in their lab or in their space, but actually how that impacts the wider world and industry, and industry as a broad term, it could also be the health sector or education in its wider form. So, so does anybody else have any questions, or are we just going straight through and any questions and discussion at the end?
Yeah, I think we should try and keep the talks going now, and then we have a discussion at the end, because otherwise we might not give everybody an opportunity to talk. So yeah, it's fine.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm handing over to work package 3.
Yes, so the next work package is work package 3, and it's Leonard Stoy, and he's online, if I understand it right. Yep.
I'm online. Can the people in the room hear me?
I think so, yeah, everybody's nodding, so that's fine, Lena.
Great. So should I share the screen or how does it work here?
Our technical team here will.
Yeah, maybe Leonard wants to share the screen himself.
All right, because there were some issues for the online participants, right? We didn't see the slides move, at least not always saw the slides moving, so there's a bit tricky, but I'll do this for my presentation. Wait 1 second, now I need to navigate my own screens. And this one should be, you should see my screen in the room, I hope, and also the folks online. So hi, everyone, this is Leonard from VUB. I'm, well, not formally the lead of the project, but I'm coordinating most of the activities in work package 3 on behalf of Elisa Mas, who is the lead of the work package. And this is just a short overview over what we're doing here. So I think if there's anyone who joined the session yesterday, then you have kind of already seen this. So work package 3 is formally, here the title is Open Science and Citizen Science, actually. And I think the work package title is Open Science and Societal Outreach. So we have organized this around 4 distinct types of activities. One is open science trainings for researchers and data stewards, so skills development across the board of open science practices, an open access portal, which is more about discovery of outputs. So publications and research data should be findable through this open access portal by mid next year. Then there's also an activity that is more enabling actually and facilitating open science activities that is about assessment of research and the way open science is, for example, reflected in that to change this a little bit so that open science actually is also rewarded and incentivized. And finally, an activity on citizen science, which is of course more about the inclusion of society in research activities and research methodologies, or the co-creation of those. And where do we stand in regards to that? I'll just give a very short rundown. So we had a lot of discussion about actually training in this area, and we started so far just with low-key activities. We had a webinar on open science very broadly just in October. We are working especially now on some guidance documents for open science in Horizon Europe, because that's actually something that concerns very much everybody who's writing a proposal these days at the European level, and there should also be a webinar / training on this. We have identified a few more other topics, so we need to find the ideal way how to implement this, either via courses or, for example, training documents. And that's specifically in relation to research data management, but also reproducibility as a cross-cutting issue, or also open access to publications. So these are all the topics that we have identified as priorities. There's of course a bit more to that, but this is what we will be working on in the next year in particular. Now, in terms of the open access portal, this is more of a technical thing because it relies on the library and repository infrastructure of the 6 partners in the project, and potentially I think also on others, on the 4 new partners, if they want to actually share the metadata in the repositories. So there we have now we have collected all the necessary information more or less from the different repositories to display the publications metadata. So for the experts, we will be doing this via OAI PMH. For the research publications, but we need some more work on the practical solutions. So for example, which type of outputs are done there, because there's some technical questions that need to be solved and that take up more time than you expect. And this is supposed to happen by mid next year. So by June next year, this should be online. Yeah, we will come up with a more detailed implementation, I think, for this now with the next meeting that we have in 2 weeks on this. Now, an activity on assessment there, we've worked in particular on on an implementation plan for that, because this takes some planning and it cannot just be done completely spontaneously. So this is we have made up a plan that is based on a couple of workshops that are both across EUTOPIA, but then also at the individual institutions, just to have a lot of bottom-up actually input on that, because it's better to come up with a very broad framework that is supposed to be addressing research assessment actually with the people who are assessed and not just, let's say, the people who sit in the work package. So this is very important to have a lot of, let's say, validation of the outputs there and discussion and input with the community of researchers, but also other administrative people and leadership in the different institutions. And now we have scheduled the first workshop on 18 January next year. So this is also an invitation to everyone to join this. It's not, registration is not public yet, but this is like a save the date, a warning that this will happen. And this will also be supported by a briefing on the topic. So that explains a little bit the context, but also the others, what other stakeholders in this area and other universities have been doing to move towards more, let's say, responsible assessment practices in research and open science as well. And later through the year, that is the plan. And for next year is that also there would be like local workshops, for example, organized by the different partners that are in the work package to actually discuss this even more locally, because there's a very direct, could be very direct implications for researchers, for instance, once you move to actually implementing a certain framework. So that's very important. And then later on to have also a second more cross-utopia activity workshop on this that actually validates the input so that we can move forward to finalizing the framework that we propose for Utopia, on which then at the next stage, that is more towards 2023, we would be writing, say, local implementation plans with what the partners in a more subsidiary fashion can commit to actually as universities, because of course we cannot harmonize everything. I think that would be a little bit too ambitious, but there needs to be some kind of subsidiary implementation of the different principles and dimensions that are identified in this framework. Now, citizen science is also moving along. The objective is to build a community of practice. So this is more also the question how to engage researchers, and there it's definitely an interesting discussion as well. We had a first meeting of this community in October, and then there are also new members are always welcome. So if there's anybody who knows somebody who could be interested in, as a researcher, to share experiences, how to run citizen science projects, this is very much welcome. We will be organizing 2 peer learning sessions, and the very first one is also already to be organized in February, on 15 February, together with the UNICA network. And then a second one, I think that's supposed to be in May or April, but we are still discussing the specific focus and the date for that one. And there's also the objective to develop some training material on how to organize citizen science projects. And we are kind of currently discussing what the shape of this should be to really have added value on top of a lot of resources that are already out there. So this is in a nutshell, just a summary slide I showed also yesterday in our specific session with the dates that if you want to write them down, you're happy to do so. Please contact me if you have any questions, especially for the people who are joining from actually outside Utopia train. And that's actually the presentation. So I'll stop sharing here. If there are any questions, happy to take them.
Thank you, Leonard. I think we will keep the questions to the discussion later, so we will continue at this stage. But thank you very much for your very nice presentation. And the next presentation will be package 4, and it will be Sylvie Nielsen who will talk about this.
Okay, I guess everybody can hear me now. So I will present you briefly
where we stand for the work package 4. We co-lead a CY with VV and half of this. Half is more on the HR part, and we are more on the collaboration and mutualization for research. So we've got 3 sub work packages, one for developing the mutualization and support for training and collaboration. The second one is more for promoting and support the early stage career researchers. And the last one, developing common HR strategy and roadmap. So concerning the mutualization, we start an inventory of the training offers for transversal skills. So we collect in October a bunch of training available in each university and many benchmarks. So we are starting to analyze this and see what are the needs. What are really the definition in each university for mutualization and how to use this data and in order to share and create new trainings. And we also see the opportunities and barrier to mutualization. We've got to undertake some pilot cases, especially for the early stage career like CIF, postdoc, and PhD. And we will also need the inputs of work package 2 and 3 for open science and innovation. We will need to deliver a report on training resources and mutualization scenario next year. Then we also support the research collaboration with the Research Mobility Program. This was launched under the project EUTOPIA 2050. We've got 24 available positions, mobilities, and 12 more under training. To date, of course, because of the pandemic, we've got only a few mobilities starting, only 4, one in CY, one in UL, one in Doctoral and DV, and also one coming with the global partnership for WOW. So we already have a report on the implementation procedure and our program for research mobility program and Young Leader Academy. And then we will wait for the visit report of all these researchers, and we need to deliver an action plan for Young Leader Academy and for research mobility program. Then we've got to offer the digital tools for supporting collaboration. So one part was support identification of collaboration. So with researcher profiles, matching tools, and kind of social network, the embryo of social network were to deliver in December for CIF. And then we also have to think about the digital collaboration environment. So for research sharing, knowledge exchange, and organization of online seminars. So this may be more global, and we will need to discuss a lot with what is also going on in work package 5 for this. And we will have a report on digital collaboration next year also. Concerning the promotion of the early stage career researcher in our university, we started today. The Young Leader Academy already identified 19 young leaders, with 42% of female. And the kickoff will start this afternoon and tomorrow morning. We will offer them a training program, and they will need to deliver some learning units to the EUTOPIA. So the implementation report is still the same as we've done, and again, visit report and action plan for the end of the project. We are also just on the start for promoting joint doctoral and postdoctoral training programs. So for to date, we have identified cohorts for doctoral. We have identified a lot of PhD for Portugal program, the EUTOPIA Portugal program, and also for doctoral mobility program. And on the other hand, of course, we will rely on EUTOPIA CIF with at the end 76 doctoral fellows. So we already have a report on the implementation of the joint program for Doctoral and CIF, and it's ready for 2050 project. And we will deliver some notes to the VP research of the two universities in order to refine the objectives, the perimeter of the joint action, and the relation with 2050 needs and deliverables. We need to have trainings, objectives, activities, and we need to define the perimeter, what we want to do. And we will deliver an action plan at the end of this project. And very briefly, what is the part of the and after those, they develop a leadership model. So after those, many of you have heard last day, so he's very keen on leadership models. I hope we will be able to deliver some trainings for our CIP and PhD students. They also draft a report on recruitment practices EUTOPIA Alliance, and the report will be presented to the HR director in February or March 2022. And well, this was also a proposition from this subgroup to work on promoting best practices within HR, and they started this week to deliver a training session on sexual harassment that was open to everyone. So they will have an activity report next year, and at the end of the project, the roadmap for HR. So this is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvie. So then the final work package before our break will be Eva Martin, who will talk about work package 5.
Hello, I'm Eva Martin from EUTOPIA. Thank you for inviting me to give this presentation of the What I talk is about Glenn. Glenn is about the EUTOPIA branch legal and innovation focus bootstrap. So for us, EUTOPIA members, Glenn should mean a transversal tool. I mean, the main aim is to enhance the research and innovation support at the EUTOPIA universities. How? By testing activities and sharing best practice in research and innovation related matters, and acting as a relevant vector gathering the latest intelligence related to cognitive goals, and provided also expert advice to the peer researchers and management in research and innovation matters. Here, just to say, it's not a matter to duplicate services, it's a matter to create better services, to enhance services. And services which are already implemented in the universities are working very well. Something has to continue, just to add value of what we are doing now. And also to provide a mark or a framework layer to discuss what are the roles and functions of this flavor of this community. We have carried out several activities. We have planned to do more activities. For instance, the benchmarking survey on innovation structure, the matching service, we will explain it more, or the topics that we will organize next year, sharing best practice. I have to say that everything that we have planned to do this year is executed on 100. And this is slide is basically because I would like to give special thanks to the EUTOPIA members who were packaged because the collaboration was wonderful. Otherwise, we will we have been able to reach all the tasks and carry out so many activities. Just I will show only a few activities that we have been. One of the main achievements, and I'm happy to say, is the partnering tool. This is a platform with the main aim to allow postdoctoral students interested in applying for a Marie Curie exploratory postdoctoral fellow call and interested in funding a potential supervisor in one of the EUTOPIA universities. So this platform allows, in a very easy system, to check and to filter by scientific area by university, to allow potential candidates to identify potential supervisors and to contact them to try to present an application for the call. This now we have plans to upgrade this first pilot in order to have an upgraded version for the next call. And probably this panel is an example of the potential that we have as a EUTOPIA alliance to build common collaboration. Another relevant achievements that we have been conducting during 2021 survey. In Deliverable 5.1, we have included the interpretation of results, this benchmarking survey. The main aim of this benchmarking survey was know better what the other universities are doing in research and innovation services, what's more, what functions, if they are centralized or decentralized, to what extent the services are implemented, which are the potential to collaborate, and also to have a view about some recommendations for the future, for when in the future. So the structure is basically composed of 4 main sections. One is general information, second is strategies and performance in research and innovation. This part is very descriptive. It's nothing more about strategies. And the sector 3 is one of the more important sections. It's about support office and services. And we're asking to the universities how they are organizing their services, both our services, innovation and legal support, ethics and security service, and gender dimension services. And finally, section 4, we asked the partners their views about expectations from Glenn and about ideas and initiatives for future collaboration. So, main conclusion from this survey has been used for organizing new activities, but also I would like to highlight three main lines of future collaboration. The first one is to have a shared strategy for engaging with the research community and users that can be easily accommodated to the local structures and needs of each EUTOPIA university. I mean, not to duplicate, just to add value, to enhance existing research and innovation supports. Second, closer cooperation among research and innovation support offices persons, including better interconnection of local structures. Basically, is organizing activities like focus group, and we'll explain it more later. And here, the third line identified was the contribution that Glenn can provide to build a stronger and sustainable EUTOPIA alliance, including the communication plan your response means, for instance, the contribution that Glenn can do to build grant proposal of strategic interest of core EUTOPIA, or to organize joint trainings for research innovation. One of the achieved or the conclusion from the deliverable was the need to organize better the exchange among the universities. And one of the initiatives to highlight is the focus groups. The main aim is to set strategies, identify common challenges, elaborate joint reference materials, organize joint events in the framework of the alliance. We realized that it was necessary to organize or to have a space to have a more in-depth discussion and to have more discussion about what we're going to do. And this is probably one of the activities that we would like to promote in the future, because it's a way to have more people of all universities on board in Utopia. Not only the members that we are here, but what beyond the people involved directly in the Utopia grant. So the members basically are Glenn officers in a broad area. I mean, Glenn officers are people with the knowledge to be part of the focus groups, not only research, but who are organizing a focus group of innovation, people from innovation. The first focus group was focusing on pre-hour services. This is one of the most important, most interest. It's the area where most interest there is in the universities. So, and the first focus group was focusing on marine exploratory actions and leadership programs. Okay. Well, yes, for your interest, if you're interested in launching any post group, we have a template for the definition, just to harmonize the work of this focus group. To finish, very quick, we had several things to do, and some forthcoming activities was, well, we have next week a meeting, the World Packet 5. We are working on the new digital paneling tool from the school, as I could say. We now just start to work with the Deliverables 5.3 about mapping and Brazilian innovation funders in collaboration with the University of Ghana, continuing with sharing best practice, and also we are in. We have to start to prepare another practice, what we call an action plan that is responsible. Okay. But I don't have time to more. But in any case, if you have any questions?
Okay, thank you very much, Eva. So we will take a break for 15 minutes. So we should be back here at 10 past. I'm not sure if there's any coffee or anything else. There's coffee outside. Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Det är rätt hopplöst. Alltså, med zoomandet och allt det där.
Alltså den då.
Alle? Ser du?
Hallå?
Blir det en ny bild på dig nu?
Jajamän, det fungerar.
Hej Kalle, var är du? Jag ser dig inte.
Här är jag. Jag ser inte oss.
Men jag ser inte er då, men...
Man får stå här. Ska vi...
Ja. Hoppas att ni har det bra.
Hej.
Hej Carina. Snyggt jobbat. Hoppas det går bra.
Vi tar en annan. Det blev ingen träff eller?
Nej, det fanns ju en grupp där, men det gick verkligen inte oss. Några tog det.
Right, everybody, I think it's time to start. Very sorry that there seemed to be no coffee, but we're not quite sure what happened there. So please come back. Har du varit och handlat? Nej.
Nu drar igång.
Nej.
Så att jag får henne. Jag ska dela lite här. Ja, här är en svart.
En svart.
En
svart. Ja, jag tar en svart, men det gör jag inte riktigt.
Men nej, den är din. Får jag den? Heaven has come.
So then we will start with session again with work package 1 and Sigrid Beck, who will talk about how we will pull all this together.
Yes, indeed. Can you all hear me? I was just writing down some notes during your presentations. So, yes, I'm going to talk about work package 1. I don't have very many slides because I have a very simple message to convey, I think. But to start with, work package 1 is led by me, Ida, Sigrid Beck at the University of Gothenburg, and Carrie Kiran at Warwick, and I think he's online, probably. And the work package 1 is all about delivering the final result of trade, which is the Common Research and Innovation Agenda and dissemination. Just a short overview of the deliverables of this work package, because we are doing work. At the same time, we need to get the results from the other work packages, that is from all the other work packages, to be able to do the work we need to do. The first deliverable was a plan for engagement and dissemination to keep project stakeholder, and this was done in June, I think. This was sort of a collaboration scheme intended to guide all work packages, including ourselves, when thinking about how to interact with stakeholders, how to engage, and how to communicate. This hasn't really been a priority for work package 1 now, because we've been sort of focusing how to structure the work. And as soon as we start to deliver something, it is obviously going to be very important to know how to engage and what stakeholders to involve. The next item on the agenda is a report on existing research and innovation strategies. And some of you have heard me and Daniel talk about that previously. This is due in last December. And it's all fine to deliver a report on existing research and innovation strategies, but in order to actually continue, we need to agree on the added value of having a common research and innovation agenda in the first place. And this is a discussion we need to start having now, basically. And it's not a discussion on the work package 1, it is very much a discussion for the vice presidents of the Utopian Alliance. And now we have new partners, they're not about to train, so it's a bit tricky how to interact all this. And of course, we need to make sure that we are also aligning with the new strategy. So I'm very happy that Toby is going to shed some light on this later. And I'm not going to bore you with the details of the other deliverables, so you can see them here. You can see the milestones here. Basically, what I want to talk about is this. So, work package 1 functions as an umbrella for all the deliverables of the other work packages. And what I'm hearing now, listening to the presentations, is that we are all focusing very much on our own work packages and not necessarily seeing the connection to the final result, which is the Common Research and Innovation Agenda. And in order for this to become something coherent and understandable and not fragmented and, well, difficult, we need to start not only within our own work packages, but between work packages, we need to make sure that we are on the same page, or at least in the same book. sharing the same story so that we can actually deliver what we are supposed to be delivering. So I see this as the challenge now that we're facing, that we need to be talking more, work package leaders together, and making sure that we're delivering what is needed for the next steps, and not only focusing on what we're doing in our own work packages. And I mean, if we're going to have an HR strategy, this strategy needs to be aligned with the purposes of a research and innovation agenda. If we're going to have a strategy on support services, that also needs to be aligned with whatever the research and innovation strategy will be. And this is why we need to talk more together. So this is very much going to be what I'm going to be focusing on the next year or years. And what you see here, and oh, by the way, for those of you on Zoom, I'm not sure if I know that it's been a problem seeing everything, but this presentation, and we'll make sure that all the presentations are in our SharePoint, but this presentation is already in SharePoint under Train, Documents, BP1, something. But I will, but it is there if you find it difficult to see it here. But what we've done, well, actually what Daniel has done is to gather all the deliverables that are of interest. I mean, all the deliverables are obviously of interest, but these are particularly of interest for the common research and innovation strategy. So this is why we need to talk to each other, because it's not only our deliverables, it's your deliverables as well. And I keep talking about this, but it's because I feel the need that we should do something about this. So after the report, we will spend time making sure that the vice presidents are on board. So from January to March, we are going to have discussions with vice presidents on trying to have, well, reach an understanding of what the added value of the agenda is. So that's very much our next steps. I think that's it for me. If you don't have any questions.
Right, well, maybe I'm just thinking, because we have the strategy coming up now, so I thought if we let Toby talk about that to try and tie that also, I think it maybe ties in quite nicely to what you've said about work package 1, and then we can continue and have the discussion. And I think it's really important what you're raising here, that, you know, how do we work together for the future, and how do we tie that into the new strategy in the best way? Because at the end of the day, the outcome is going to have to come together somehow. So all the great work you do within each work package obviously need to then be somehow coming together into the next step, if you like. So I think it fits very nice, actually. We start with the strategy. So please, Toby.
Yes,
the vice president, one of the many.
You're very special, aren't you?
Är det en PowerPoint som ska upp? Nej,
Nej, han har
Yeah. Is anyone in the Zoom call who can confirm that? I think it is. But I think I have to share it, right? Holly, do you know what do you see in your screen now?
Did you talk to me?
Yes.
Yeah, I see your presentation.
Oh, you do? Okay, then it's fine.
Yeah, Utopia vision.
So you see the Utopia vision, right? Hello.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, very nice. Thank you. And
I'm really happy to be here, and this is work in progress. It's very much work in progress, and some of things are, carved in stone already, and some are that definitely will not look like this in the coming months. And since we're talking about vision here, that was the pointing arrow, that the end point of the previous presentation by Dida. We would like to deliver something here. And we are going to take this retake, and I've been given the lead. So if we start with a vision, I'm back business. The vision here is to empower future generations with academic knowledge to contribute for a more sustainable society, connecting communities on a local, European, and global level. So just go through this a bit more slowly. Empower, so we would like to use the knowledge that we create and disseminate in order to empower future generations, that is our students or coming students, and aiming for a more sustainable society. And this should be interpreted in the most broad sense, sustainable society, not only in the environmental sense, but also in many things that we try to do as clear as possible with regard to keep that momentum. And we would like to do that. So we're setting the table for the mission by adding at the end here, connecting communities, and also introduce the scale here, that we start with the local and then go into our network, European, and also have a reach out for global questions. So as I said, setting up a mission here. So we are going to empower via knowledge, using connecting communities. So we want to connect communities in order to transform our universities into open. We heard about open science before. Inclusive, that's also another work package that we're working very hard with. And diverse, and also innovative enablers. So innovation, we also heard that before. So it's all just put this into another form. But so there are not really new things here. Okay, so what can that look like? So here's a picture, an image that we can have in our mind, just to have something to talk about. So you can read this image as there is a hexagon around the little part of the city, and you have here education and research as the closest parts. That is the core work that we do in universities, but also we have science part, taking things from the scientific and research output and try to make small companies. And there we have got enterprise. You also have that you're living in a city, you have the community center, and many cities have hospitals that is a close collaboration, especially with the medical faculties. So this is something that we already do more or less, but we would like to add here the connecting communities by putting all these together in a melting pot in the center here. So we got this action here. We have this epicenter where we have a sharing center. We have this amphitheater that is probably going to be called something else, but that means that a place where you can have an open and fruitful and collaborative discussion about these issues. And we have communication centers, so we'll be able to get out the message, but also to capture the important questions that we will get from outside this little part of the city. So these big green light arrows is going both sides, taking in problems and challenges, but also delivering hopefully some good results. So it's about connecting communities. So that is the key point here. So that is what we start with. This is the basic thing, and that is that's been a work since this spring, working with different domains, and it is now a consensus since the Brussels meeting that connecting communities will be the center towards what EUTOPIA is all about. So starting with that, we divide this into 4 different subdomains. And the first one is, of course, student-oriented. We have the student focus, and the students will then be citizens in the whole communities, and we do this by mobility that will scale through all EUTOPIA not only locally in that city. And entrepreneurship, that is the innovative part that we will make sure that happens. The other domain of this 4 is the empowering knowledge. That was taken from the vision here. What do we mean by that, and how do we make that happen? So that can be, empowering knowledge can be divided into knowledge, of course, that's the substance or the subject here. And that in turn is something that is about, see here, that is, maybe I can move this to, research, education, and we also need to disseminate that. We have a publication here. So the words here, you shouldn't take that too literally, that would change. And I'm really happy if you have suggestions for better words, but we just think about the meaning here. And knowledge and the subject or substance here, but the action is the empowering. What do you get? What do you use with power? How can you express your power? Well, you want to have impact in the surroundings, so that will be another third of that. And also it will something that will improve your career throughout your different stages in life, all the way up to my age, maybe even. No, that's probably that. Yeah, and so that is one of the two left in this quartet, and that is the environment, the surrounding, the ecosystem, if you wish, that in turn is consisting of the environment that we want to take care of that in sustainability sense. And there we also have this placemaking that we're working with, keep that, maybe in a different name, but that is important. And what are the hardware here? It's the inter-university campus, which consists that, if we move up a bit, we see that one of the things is the infrastructure, which is a subset of that. So that is the third in the quartet here, the ecosystem, the environment. And this is the ecosystem here, the melting pot. And the last one here is the support that we will provide to make this happen, to make these melting things that we can connect and get synergetic effects from that. And doing that with a vehicle to support, the name is not decided, maybe there will be a fourth one. By bringing governance and management to make this whole thing run. And also digitalization is it's a word that needs to be more focused in the future. We haven't done too much of that so far, but that will be a focused thing. But that is something that's already been decided as well as innovation. That's also going to be a focused term here in the future. So, yes. Can we have questions? I can go.
Yes, I think we can start the discussion now while we're on to the strategy. So yes, please.
How do you see innovation as a tool and not empowering knowledge and impact?
I get you. Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So some of these words does not mean just a single thing, unfortunately. So it's like environment means something to some people, but here we view that as in the broad sense of not only that we're going to preserve the nature, but also the physical environment. But when it comes to if I move in words here, to innovation, we mean innovation in the sense not only things and gadgets and stuff or things that you can build a company around, but this will be innovations that we make to support the EUTOPIA action. It could be a new way of teaching. That's an innovative step that we'll take to support this connected community. So that's the sense that we are thinking about innovations here. Yeah. So great.
Valorization is missing. So the impact of research to innovation is really missing.
Yeah, okay. So thank you for mentioning the impact of the research. So we have the impact here of the research, and that is a central thing when it comes to empowering with knowledge.
That impact is.
I think what's not mean is that should lead to innovation. Yes. Yeah.
So as you can see, this is not.
I'm really sorry. I'm passionate about innovation. So impact is not a strong word. And it's not clear. It's clear to me, it's clear to perhaps some people that are active in the knowledge transfer, knowledge organization, for deep politics. And so for impact is not a strong word. So it has to be additionally clarified so they know what we mean.
Yes.
And I agree, but I think that the wording should be more powerful in terms of innovation. Okay. Suggestion, Mr. Vinca?
Maybe no, I need to think about it, but yeah, I would.
Yeah, please email me if you find it even stronger word than impact. It might be it's quite strong, but you can make an impact.
Actually, talking about that, we also discussed that if you have any suggestions, comments at the end, please email Magdalena. She's taking all the notes for the meeting and will also add comments to it. Please, I think we can put up maybe a email address later on.
But I think just to address one more, the general question about that, it's not easy to see all the combinations here. This is a new way to slice EUTOPIA in a way, but there's different ways to do that, and there is not a unique way that it's not the best way, but this is a bit of a new way to look at it. And if we can gather different viewpoints, that's really good. One weak point, which I think you might be pointing out as, is that we have innovation here in a slightly different word than meaning than usually we have. We have entrepreneurship over here, and we have impact of research here. And these things should be, of course, gathered. So we're thinking of adding, different colors, how this is going to be a whole network, not only a three-partite graph, what is it like now, but also to see how these are related. So this shouldn't be more of a gathering or scattering, but instead, this is a way we try to avoid having silos. So take, for example, this part here. We don't say research and education already on this level, but we try to see that as whole. That has been something that has been a bit troublesome, that we divide very early on research and education. But here we would like to see that as part of knowledge and to make those more tighter together in that sense. So that's part of that. Right, yes. Have you given me my card so you can email me directly?
I like the visualization you did there, because this thing houses.
This thing, yeah?
Yes, because you see houses, and a house is a place, or a building is a place where you can go to. It's a location you can point out and you can meet there. And at this moment, I'm not very long within EUTOPIA, so I'm fresh. And what I'm currently missing is a location, as in one spot where we can all go and find everything. And because you visualize this very well. And currently, it's spread all over the place, and we are all doing our stuff and all doing our things. But what you visualize here is what I miss in the current situation of EUTOPIA. Maybe I can call it management, like one location where we all can meet and gather. It's fine that we're all spread over the place, but at the end of the day, we need to have one location where we can come together, share the knowledge, share our expertise, and get that out. We're doing today right now is perfect, and it's sad that this is only the first time we can do this together in person. But in the future, I think we have to go to the exact thing that we have been pointing out, the location we all come together as you told me.
So what you are aiming at is it's not only an intellectual center, but also a physical center.
I think so. If you go to practical, because it's nice to write things down, and it's nice to stay in the cloud, but I have to come to the ground, where we build a house, where we can come together, and we can actually do things. Because when you talk about impact, you don't create impact in the sky, you create impact on the floor. And this visualization, to me, brings that in action. That's impact.
Thank you very much for mentioning that, because I think that's what we're aiming for, to see how we can be more realistic, practical, and pragmatic to make action of this, to get this out in the capillaries, so we can actually see some So to get away from the wording, the cloudy wording, as I say. And so this is an image. And the funny thing is that we have, everything is very premature here, but we have discussions with the vice rectors about actually creating a physical place at each university, which is an utopia place. It could be a room, it could just be a cluster of trees, but actually this is a spot where utopia exists in our different universities, where everyone should feel like an utopian entering that spot. And that could also be joined together with alumni, that having a room also for fundraising and things like that, an open space that every utopians are very much welcome and encouraged to visit. So having physical, milestones and physical embodiment of these ideas is super important. So I completely agree. Thanks for that.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask on one of the concepts on the previous slide, if you could go back, about empowering knowledge. Is it possible to say something a little more about what that is? What is empowering knowledge, and how can we define that? And also, I guess, in some way, who defines what empowering knowledge is, or how have you discussed that?
Yes, okay. So we are pointing out the vision, going back to the vision. That is that we want to have an impact on our society, to make things more sustainable, right? And the way we would like to contribute to that is with our tools, our goal, and that is knowledge. But not just any knowledge, but knowledge also in the sense that the students will be fostered also to be able to use that knowledge for impact. So try not to say that everything should be applied science, not at all, but just that how can we make the knowledge have an impact even on very pure things as well, but still not only stopping at that, know you know this, but how can you disseminate that, and how can you improve that, and how can you talk to others so that knowledge actually makes a difference. So that is the underlying.
Yeah, that's good. I guess I'm just thinking because there's a lot of knowledge that might seem useless.
Yeah, but it's very hard. I mean, if you go to, for example, so the question was that seems to be a lot of knowledge that might look useless. But for example, I don't know if you read this Mathematician's Apology by Hardy. He writes a book about that. He's very proud that his work has been completely useless, so it cannot be used for any bad purposes, like Bohr. That was during the First World War that he was working on that. And ironically, a lot of his work has now been used for cryptography, and especially in military purposes. So you never know what will be used. So it's hard to say. Yeah. Daniel.
I think it's also important to keep in mind that this is a vision, and that it will not and cannot explain all the fine details and so on and so forth in the vision, because then it will be a monumental document that doesn't really mean anything. So it is really up to us to use these types of documents in order to create the clear and concise offers to the communities that we want to connect. So it's less about, can we more clearly define what our knowledge is all about? It's more, okay, now we have to go back to our drawing board to figure out how do we make offers that the researchers, the students, and our stakeholders like and want to engage in and connect with. I also like the building part as a vision based on the content and needs of the researchers and the community. So we create the need for it first and the buildings later. Now, I have an idea that we find the GPS spot between all the universities, and hope is an empty field, so one day we can build buildings there. But it should be based on the need of the people that we want to engage. To be frank, not us who sit here, because we're all in the support of the creation. And it's all very confusing at the moment, because we're doing something that's never been done before. And we all pray for answers, but we're also all part of giving the answers. What I think is important to keep in mind is about other people and not ourselves.
Thank you. Can I just comment that? So I think there is, we would like to have show the dynamics in this image as well, that this is what we are trying to create, connect communities, so we can look at the environment and see what kind of challenges do we have here, and take that into the knowledge machinery here to see if we can use and get more knowledge and disseminate that, and to package that so it will be understandable to politicians and stakeholders, and then go back into here and try to do that. And these part here is to support that kind of dynamics going back and forth. And then, of course, the students will be a central part going back and forth, and also bringing this into the next dimension, which is the future as well. So think about that as being a flat landscape here, but we have this little village here, but then we have another village over here. There in EUTOPIA, and we try to also look at that network, so we can go in that dimension as well. So it's a kind of a high dimensional system that hopefully will make things even more fluid and liquid in a good sense.
I'm just wondering, now yesterday the Erasmus new bid came out, the call. Have you had any chance to see how this will fit into the, what the European Commission wants in the next?
No, sorry. Unfortunately, we had a long evening with singing and dancing.
Connecting the different communities, completely different level. Yeah, but I think that's also going to be important to.
Absolutely, thank you.
So I'd also like the picture, but if you look at that, you could take any one of our individual institutions and say, that's what we as an individual institution aspire to anyway. And I think the challenge for EUTOPIA is how we then raise it to be at that next level, so that we're not seeing it as that flat, as you say, the flat bit. We're saying, okay, so how do we have the mobility of our students from Warwick being able to impact and connect with the ecosystem in Ljubljana to do something different and better. And that's, I'm finding it hard in our work package, but I'm sure everybody else is too, to articulate what that difference is. So is it 10 of those, just all them sort of having lots of different lines between themselves, or is it, I don't know, is it something slightly different?
Yeah, very good question. Thank you for posing that. So that
the
is
sharing centre might have to be above. Is that what you're thinking, Wendy?
Well, I don't know, and I think that's the discussion point. I don't know what that feels like or looks like, and whether it is something that, if you're taking education as education in the 10 institutions, and then there's something that groups all of education together at a bigger level, or whether it is all in the sharing, I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. So I mean, a very good point, because if we show that to any rector, this is exactly what we're doing right now, is the answer, right? But we would like to try to do this even better, to lower the thresholds even more, to make these paths in between these existing even more nice and closer and more efficient to work and to pass. And that's where the support is coming in. And just to try to make an example here, that, for example, the hospital and some researchers there's a problem in hospital, researchers find a nice way to solve that, and that has been tested and tried out. Maybe there will be an enterprise spin-out company that will work with that. And there is a way that this is a solution here. And then by going into this and then moving up the dimension in the EUTOPIA to go to the next cluster, that is another university with its surrounding, and see, can we do what we have done here? Can we try to do that together in Warwick with the hospital here, and without any, it's still a lot of friction, right? If you try to do that, you could do that today, but we try to make this as fluid as possible. So there is a lot of trust. There's personal communication with, was it Fred? Or yeah, Fred. And so you know these people, you trust them, it can be very immediate, and there is much greater chance that will be a successful way to do that. So I thought, since this is a Prezi, I will try to work on that. We can also zoom out, really, instead of zooming in, and then get going to another country as well, and seeing that interactions between that networks to make that really as a unique selling point that we can learn from each other in an efficient way. Yeah.
I agree. I think that I like the picture, but the added value of utopia in the picture. I mean, so that you don't see it as just one institution connecting things together. That is going to be challenging, but I think it's still.
It's not there, but we should
it's
find an image for that as well.
Yeah.
Daniel has a solution. There's Lise also have another solution. I assume it's a solution.
Yes.
To continue what I said earlier, that we are part of giving the answers, I guess it's perhaps less of the vision providing answers, is more about vice rectors and higher levels to start asking more deliberate and explicit questions to us to answer ongoing, so that we can start giving the answers to this, since there is no book on this. So that would be my wish, that the vision part start to ask the questions, we can start answering.
Exactly. So that just before Lisa had a question all the way down, and when you walk there, it's. I mean, we can try to. In the process now is that we will try to work on this mission and then translate it into a strategy, and then how to transform the strategy into to more. And the timing is that now there will be a call up that would be announced any minute.
Yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So there is a call now. So that we create this mission and strategy. We create the starting point of our writing process. So that's also where we are in that situation.
So I think the connect really idea is what the added value of Utopia is just a massive scaling up of all our universities. So not that. But the thing I'm missing a little bit in this visualization is the interaction between the dots that come underneath the connect communities. Because I want to avoid that we do what we did already, is create silos.
Yeah.
So I would like to see and think about, more how the parts within the communities interact with each other.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. So that's maybe this side here that we have these arrows going between different ways.
Yeah, not just arrows, but also think about it.
Yeah. Okay. But we are on the vice rector level. We try to think about arrows, not.
I would like also to point out that we put entrepreneurship for students, of course, it's very important. But this round should be more close to empowering knowledge, because we may also make our students, PhD students, and postdoc and then research aware of entrepreneurship and the way they can engage in not only being the CEO, but engage in starting something and again going to.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I think it's been very stimulating to hear the ideas and visions that we have.
Yeah, I'm really
but I
happy.
think we should sort of try and sum up now a little bit. I would like to hear really from the work package leaders. How do you see that we can somehow, I don't know, fit into this new scheme, and how can we also work together? Like my glasses are going close. How can we work together between the work packages now in the future to really get trained to sort of deliver the best we can to the commission? Does anyone has sort of been inspired by seeing what everybody's doing?
Leonard?
Sorry? Leonard? Oh yes, Leonard.
Just let me. Thanks for the presentations from the two previous ones. I think both are related from work package. Was it the one that leads to the Utopia train output of the strategy, and but also this one about the Utopia strategy as a whole. So, and I think actually what was done for the research strategy, the mapping of the different deliverables, that was a really good start. So what I think there needs to be done, and I think maybe some of us individually have done this, to look at where each work package has a link to another one, but to do actually maybe sit together at some point and think, okay, where do we actually deliverables that are kind of interdependent? I saw some, for example, from the Glenn office. There's certainly, like from my perspective, on the open science side, there's certainly something on the Glenn office on open science, but also on the training, there is something on open science that was mentioned there. And from my perspective, the work on research assessment also clearly relates to some issues like human resources and maybe even in innovation and entrepreneurship, because in the end, there needs to be some incentivization for these things. So there are, for me, there are clear links there, but it's maybe for all of us at some point to sit together doing a management board meeting and to think, okay, where are very important links that we need to think about before, or like while the deliverables are being prepared, just to make this a bit more systematically, and not wait until the whole research strategy is being worked out at the end, and then we realize, oh, we should have talked about this maybe earlier.
Yeah, I can say that we have also discussed that during the week here, exactly what you're saying, Lennart, about having a meeting in the spring where we actually have the work package, the management board basically meets work package leaders, and we go through again, update what we have done, where we are, but also actually dedicate a whole day maybe to just discussing how do we work together, how can we fit everything together, and how sort of, yeah, deliver in the best way in the long run. And I think that's going to be important for training in the future. So that's something that we can suggest.
Thank you. I think this week we had enough time to have a clear overview of what we are doing, and we have already identified many synergies between the whole packages. So maybe a practical idea would be to send a work package 1 or the management board, as we decide, some of our ideas as work package leader. So, okay, I see that work package 5 has really close links with work package 4 related to the digital tools. Then I see that we need to work really closely with work package 2 regarding the joint investigation and some other things that we have identified as potential for the collaborations, those collaborations. And then we can start structuring the future meetings, and that would be probably a nice starting point.
To really identify the areas we should focus on to sort of receive from all the different refugees.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we could start by just gathering the work package leaders to a meeting that isn't necessarily a management board meeting, but outside it, just to make sure that we can talk about these things. And I would encourage all of you to go to the SharePoint and look at the project tracker as well, because you there see all the deliverables. And, oh my God, this is so, sorry. You then see all the deliverables and the milestones. And this is one way of just making sure that what's going on in the different work packages. And I will send you an email.
Right.
Thank you.
And, I would say that we are all moving sick, so we've got our support, and we really need to use what we are making in work package 2, in work package 5 for them. So it will be also very interesting to start to use the results and apply them to see as first, because we need that. We need data management ideas as EUTOPIA. We need open science awareness and then whatever after application, and we need a lot of things. So we may use that for SIF and try to yes, just apply.
And I think it's also very important. I mean, it's we are still reasonably early in the project, but that's a good time to really start thinking about what's working and what's not working, where we have challenges, because that's when you can really make a difference. I think. So this is the right time to really start to pull together. I think that's also something to keep in mind. We shouldn't just think that oh, it's another couple of years and that will be fine. But I think we should look seriously at things now. Yes, Wendy?
Just one final thing really from my point of view. So we at work have somebody who is able to see, so project officer who's able to see all of the work packages and engages with all of them. And I know that Ljubljana also have the same. And I think that's quite useful in being able to get that oversight. So whoever the work package lead is or work package person within your institution, there is always one person who knows what's going on everywhere. And actually the leads of work packages, well, I certainly can't know what's going on everywhere. I need somebody else to know that and tell me. So it might be worth, I don't know if the other institutions have that kind of a role, but it might be worth them all getting together as well.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And maybe that's a little bit what sharing office that Toby was showing here, that we need some sort of common thing.
Just a reaction to especially to the last two presentations, and they can be used by all of us in training, and I suspect that as early in the project, a lot of us might have the feeling that we're digging into the hole or playing with the construction parts without seeing the big picture. But it's important to keep that big picture, which is that we're trying to develop this richer community, connected community that Toby was showing at the center of this slide. And we're not exactly, my vision is that we're not exactly doing this right now. We're trying to build the controls of a house, and the architect is Dida, so she has the plan. And it's quite reassuring to see the different floors and the different elements fit in that bigger picture that Dida showed you. Actually, we're going to print it out, frame it, send it to you. There's going to be a test on that at the next meeting of the training group, so that everyone is really on the same page or in the same book. And in fact, for the graph that Toby showed, the image of the village shows us that basically our building is going to be somewhere, and there's probably some urban planner here that is sort of renaming the buildings and changing the functions of the buildings. So that's the joy of these sort of staggered EU projects that we are only at the beginning of training, but already things are changing with the new Erasmus lead. But that's what we have to. So this construction is not an easy task and an easy life. So, but beyond that, I just have one reflection about what's at the center of your work, the connected communities. We're building buildings, and we want them to be lived in buildings and houses, and well, there needs to be more than infrastructures. And I think the complicated part is to get life inside that. So we need an enrollment strategy. Not only we need that vision, which is very, very nice, very structured and very powerful, but we also need the enrollment of our community to bring people in and buy these houses and live there. That's also one of the difficulties and one of the things that the strategy development of the new project should take into consideration. And that's one of the things we're working at within trade. Through the different things that we put together, the tools for bottom-up collaboration, but also eventually some more structured views on research and innovation.
Very wise words, thank you. So I think we need to find the building blocks basically to support the new buildings. That's what we're all going to be doing, all bricks in the sort of whole system. But I would just like to thank Eva actually for providing UPF, for providing us with the opportunity to meet here in person. It's been very nice. And I hope we had a good constructive discussion, which I think will help us in this work. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming.